Well, I'm Ed Parcaut. I'm here with Amy Tiemeyer, and we are helping the brave. Amy, thanks for being here today.
Well, of course, it's always my pleasure.
And you're saying thanks for freaking showing up today because you didn't show up last week. I had stuff going on last week.
You did. We did a shout out. I was caring. I
Yeah, I
was
appreciate
nice.
that. I appreciate what you're doing, what you did for me last week. Sorry, all of a sudden somebody has to. I tell it not to mess up, and people are calling. All right, so we've had some really good runs with one of our past guests who've sent so many people to us. We appreciate it, especially when they're Marines, because I'm a Navy guy, so I always like my Marines. Uh, Amy is against them. I don't know why, but
Whatever. Lies. Fake news. Fake news.
yeah. Last podcast I was on, that's how AI is working. So I guess it's AI news. So
Okay.
let's let's bring in our guest today, uh, all the way from Texas. Must be warm there today. I think you told us. And again, this is Chris. Is it Whitmore? I can't read. I don't have my glasses, so
Whittmore.
Whitmore. Okay.
Yes.
Is it warm there? Because you keep touching, or are you just really nervous of being on the show?
Oh no, I love being on shows, but no, it's about 110 degrees outside right now, so it's nice and cool in the 80s inside. So I'm loving life.
And no humidity, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's pretty humid in the garage. So just working on the motorcycle, and then look down. I was like, oh yeah, got to get ready for the show. So that motorcycle is going to have to wait.
All right, so helping the brave, where we help people. We talk about your transition, what happens, what after you get out of the service, and your history of the service. And go ahead, Amy, ask your first question.
I know. This is my favorite question. What made you choose the branch that you chose? And so, of course,
And what branch is that?
Oh,
well, you kind of said it earlier, but okay, whatevs.
just kind of throw that lifeline out there for me. So yeah, I definitely was in the Marines, and the crazy thing, what led me to it was I come from a lineage of military family that were in the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, and everything in between, except for the Marines. And I was always the type to go against the grain. So what a better against the grain than joining the Marines. But according to my mom, I saw the Marines in the dress blue uniform, walking down the street, prior recruiter. And I said, that's exactly what I want to be when I grow up. And, it turned 18, went down to the recruiting office, said, sign me up, let's go. And the rest is history. So,
Did you, when you went in, was there something you knew you wanted to do, or you just took a job that they offered you?
the first time, I always wanted to do be in the infantry, running around, shooting guns, carrying heavy packs. Really branding that success story when I get out of the military. Construction or law enforcement. That was about it. But then I really just wanted to be in the infantry and do all the cool stuff you see on TV or in the video games back then in the late '90s, which is, as we all know, is a complete falsehood of what the military really is. But I had to learn the hard way. But I had a great time. Got stationed in Hawaii for the first 4 years. There was nothing going on in the late '90s because Desert Storm was over. It was just deployed to Okinawa, Korea, Thailand. Enjoyed 6 months of training and back and forth from Hawaii. I mean, it was great. I loved it.
So, were you enlisted or officer while you served in the Marine Corps?
I was enlisted. Stayed on the enlisted side through that 4 years, and then of course got out, came back in '04 after the OIF stuff kicked off, and medically retired in 2015. But I stayed enlisted, but got to do every dream job that I had, everything that I could have possibly thought of. I want to be, a scout sniper. So I got to go hang out and train with one of your guests, Alex Carlson or Gunnar Carlson, and then did a few deployments to Iraq in that job field, and then came back and decided to be a helicopter crew chief and deployed to Afghanistan during that time. And it was a whirlwind, but I got to do everything that I ever wanted to do. So it was great.
That's cool. That's really cool. So when you said you had a break in service, so you got out, What did you do? Did you do law enforcement or construction like you said before, or what did you do in the meantime or in that space?
Yeah, I actually got out and became the first job that I had is I always wanted to do, that cool job that you see on like Maury or those old talk shows where they come out dressed up like drill instructors and yell at the kids, like the scared straight stuff. So I did that for a few years, realized that wasn't really for me. I had a great time doing it, but I wanted something more. Then I became a Texas State Trooper, and got to do that for from 2003 to 2004. Did it for about a year and a half, and decided, once the war kicked off, everything was going on with that. And I always told myself, you know what, I was happier being in the Marine Corps. So that's what I wanted to go back to. And I didn't learn my lesson from the first time, but I went into the recruiting office in '04, said, I don't care where you send me, what job you give me, let's go. And they obliged and said, great, you're going to be in the infantry again, and you're going to 29 Palms, California.
I heard that's a great place.
No, it was very eye opening. My wife is from Houston, Texas. She grew up in the city all her life, and we now are living in the desert. And the first call that I remember getting from her as we're driving our two vehicles out there is, "Where are you taking me?" And you could hear the fear in her voice. I said, "I really have no idea. The GPS just says keep going that way." So we followed the GPS all the way into 29 Palms, and the rest is and the journey began. So it was quite the shock.
Okay, so it's weird that I'm usually the one with internet problems, but we see that it is Ed today.
Okay, so. I was wondering where he went to. I was like, oh, he left.
Well, I'm sure he'll come back. I don't know what's going on, but what I was going to ask though. Okay, so you've actually transitioned from the military twice.
Yes, ma'am.
So, was there big differences in transitioning? In differences meaning like in the services that were provided, or how you felt about them, just all the things.
There's a lot of significant things that took place in the 90s when I got out. It was 1999 when I got out the first time. There was nothing. I mean, there was different things occurring across the world, but back then it was, you do the 1 week, maybe 2 months before you get out, you take the 1 week class to transition to, here's how you write a resume, here's how you do a job interview. Best of luck, out you go. There wasn't really a huge transition. There wasn't a whole lot of, I guess maybe at the time there wasn't really a need to help with the transition because nothing was really going on. Then, of course, September 11th happened. Shortly thereafter, the world turned upside down. The new war started, all that kind of stuff. So the first piece was really easy. The second, when I got out in 2015, I was medically retired. And the medical retirement was great, but at the time, due to the different TBIs, the concussions, the PTSD that I was dealing with, the end of an era, because this time I was done. There was going to be no coming back from this. There wasn't. They sort of prepared you, but at the same time, the medical people at the Brooke Army Medical Center here in San Antonio told me. They said, well, you're getting out. You got 3 parts of your brain that aren't working anymore due to the concussions and the TBIs. You're not going to be successful in a marriage. You're not going to be successful in a career, and don't bother doing education because you're not going to be successful in it because of the TBI. Your cognitive learning disability is not going to allow you to be very successful. And so getting out this last time, it was very, I had really a decision to make. I could listen to everything that the doctors and everyone was telling me that, hey, you're set up for failure, or you can prove everyone wrong and do everything in your power to be a success. And and that's what I did. I've been married 23 years. I've had a job since I've been out. I've written a book. I've got a master's degree in forensic psychology. And so everything that they told me was going to happen, I completely proved them completely wrong. But it's a very difficult transition, and I work with people all the time now who are getting ready to get out. I help with them do VA claims, and I see them either they're still active duty or all the way to 90 years old, and they're doing their first time claim, and you really see the transition of how each decade transitioned out of the military and what they're up against. And even today, the young guys who are doing 5, 4, 8+ years are getting out and they're lost. They have no idea what's going on. And it's a very hard transition.
I think we had a guest on, might have been up to a month ago. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but said that they felt like you should have a basic training going out of the military, almost to unpack everything the way you go into the military. Maybe not as long, but I think that it's an interesting idea. Like when you think of places like Permission to Start Dreaming, and they have where you're learning new tools and different things on how to deal with things. But let me ask you a question. So forensic psychology, what does that even mean?
Forensic psychology, I really got into it, and this will be a good laugh for everybody. I really got into that degree watching Criminal Minds on TV. I always was fascinated by the mind and why people turn in or do what they do, or why they become what they've become. Like the serial killers, what makes them tick? Why did Ted Bundy become the type of person he was? And basically, it's the forensic psychology that is forensic psychology, examining the why of the brain that functions in that mindset. Why, like interviewing serial killers is kind of what a forensic psychologist would do, and do a lot of the testing to see if they're competent to stand trial, that kind of stuff. It's always just kind of been intriguing to kind of see what makes the brain do what it does. And I guess maybe, having my brain get scrambled up a little bit, being in Iraq and Afghanistan so many times, it was just really interesting to kind of see, like, wow, I guess everyone has that capability, or that little weird thing inside their brain that can, just go off one day and turn someone like way off track. And it's kind of a scary thing, but it's kind of cool at the same time.
So we always ask, like, what did you leave behind in the military? Like, and we kind of feel like everybody leaves something. Ed would say he left behind the 24-hour clock. 6 p.m. for him. It's 8 a.m. It's never going to be 2100 ever again, kind of thing. And so we always ask that, like, is there anything you can think of that you're like, yep, not going to do that anymore?
Oh, yeah. Wow, that is a great question. I think probably definitely the clock, as far as like getting up at 4:30 in the morning, going to work out at 5:30 to that regimented schedule. I've definitely kind of kept some of it, because just I get up at this time, I'm at work at this time, that kind of thing. So it's regimented in that aspect, but nothing, I don't have to get a fresh haircut every week. I don't have to shave every single day. So those are things I definitely have stopped doing completely. Unless I know I'm going to like do a presentation in front of somebody, or go talk to like a judge or something like that, then I'll shave and get a nice haircut and all that stuff as part of the job. But other than that, I may like grow out the 5 o'clock shadow and just be happy with the fact that I can do that. So I think that's the one thing I've kind of left behind.
I think that's a good one. My husband has not left that behind. So he served in the Marine Corps and now he's in the Air Force Reserves. And he has like, I don't know, a 1/4 inch hair on his head. And he's like, oh, I need to go get a haircut. And you don't know, airman, that you do. I don't know if you keep forgetting you're an airman and not a Marine, but it's funny. It's a running joke for us. So what do you know of something that you learned in the Marine Corps that was like a surprise to you or something that you use on a regular basis?
I think something that I use that I've taken with me out of the Marines and just in life in general is seeing all of the hiccups that I've gone through in the transition through the military, getting out of the military. I've really turned that into a passion to make sure others don't follow that same path or run into the same problems as I did. And that's kind of what drew me to write the book, as well as, be in the job field that I am now, doing helping people with claims. I just want to help other service members because I know how difficult it can be. And if I can be that one person that helps someone else avoid the chaos and the turmoil that I had to go through, I think that's the best gift that I can pay forward. And it kind of makes me feel like similar to the military, I guess. It's kind of like my new mission is not deploying and, taking the fight to the enemy or anything like that. It's now being that sounding board and being able to provide the advice to others and just set them up for success to make their transition just that much easier.
Very cool. So tell us about writing the book. What made you decide to? I have so many questions.
Yeah. The book actually occurred out of complete, I don't even know the right word, but it was never the plan to write a book. It all generated during COVID. I started my job 3 weeks before the whole lockdown happened. So I got to learn my job from the kitchen table, which was great because the commute was now about, 20 feet. And so, but I noticed, and I was telling my wife, a lot of the memories of deployments and people and things like that were starting to fade a little bit. And it was bothering me because I didn't want to lose any details of what, so many brave men and women went through. And my wife just suggested, hey, write it down. And I said, okay, whatever. I'll do like a diary, kind of just write all these stories out. And she's like, oh, I was like, well, now what am I going to do with, 200 pages of just memories, I guess. And she said, send it in and see if they'll publish it. I'm like, and I told her, I said, I don't want to send another book, or even if I get published, I don't want to write another book, another war book. You could go to Barnes and Noble and there's probably 100 plus books on different battles throughout history, from American Sniper, Lone Survivor, the list. The list goes on and on and on. And but after we reviewed all the stories, it's not just a book about certain battles, which there's some stories in there with, me and one of your guests, Gunnar Carlson, or Staff Sergeant Carlson at the time. But I really wanted to touch on, yes, this is what happens on deployment, but what happens to people and families, most importantly, when we do come back from the deployment, when we do get on that deployment cycle of home for a year, deploy for 7 months, home for, whatever, on the go. And what is the true impact on families and loved ones back home? And, what's happening to the service member? Why are they isolating away? Why are they drinking? Why are they, acting the way they're acting? Why are they hyper vigilant, checking the doors and the windows 5 times a day? What is going on? And I really wanted to, share those experiences and the med board process that I went through, the ups, the downs, the everything in between, the dumb mistakes that I made, and the different hardships that I put my family through, to really kind of, I guess, save the next generation and be like, it's in my favorite line of all, is it's okay to not be okay. And I think that is my biggest thing that I tell people all the time when I go in, do talks or presentations or things like that, because there's still that stigma, of, oh, if I'm, having issues, I'm weak, or I'm not strong enough, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. And I always follow up with that with it. What about the Oklahoma City bombing firefighters? What about the 9/11 firefighters or the families of the victims? Is it okay for them to have issues? Well, yeah, is most of the time. Well, why is it not okay for you to have issues after you've seen what you've seen on the battlefield, or any trauma for that matter? It doesn't have to be military. It could be doctors, first responders, driving down the road, wrecks, children in school during all the shootings that have gone on, all that stuff. I was like, why is it okay for them but not you? And no one can answer that. They're just like, but I think the more we can talk about those type of things, the more it's going to become acceptable to talk about it. And I think that's going to lower that suicide rate and get rid of that 22 a day. And that was the whole reason for the book. And from what I understand, if besides my book, there may be like one or two others out there, at most, maybe one or two that talk about the same thing that I talk about. And it's just been an awesome experience to see the book grow, do talks, do presentations, get to come on podcasts like this one and talk about the book and talk about the different experiences. And I think it's just been an amazing thing.
Okay, so where do people go to buy the book?
Yeah, you can go on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Kindle, Audible. If you basically Googled Terror to Triumph and my name, Chris Whittemore, there's going to be about 8 pages of Google hits that are going to pop up, because it's available in Australia, Japan, Germany, all over the US, all over the, internationally. And people, I just spoke with someone the other day from Australia that picked up the book, and just by some random, I met him on, Facebook. He picked up the book, and, he's left a great review, and it's been amazing. I mean, I would have never, you couldn't have told me 10 years ago that in 2023, you're going to have a book out and there's going to be, 400 or so sold or whatnot. I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way. And, but yeah, it's growing, and it's been great. And people have read the book, both military and not military, and they've passed it on to family members. And from what I've heard, it's actually helped a lot of people. So I'm kind of blown away by that, but it's great to give back.
That's neat. I think that's a real indicator of it being a good book is when somebody hands it off to someone else, right? I think,
For sure.
So congratulations on that. And I think that's wonderful that you did do that you finished it, and it is there for us. I think personally, I take history for my kids and my grandkids really personally. And so I don't worry so much about what schools teach, because I believe it's actually parents and family members' responsibility. So I like to use books like yours to teach history, to then have the complex conversations about, war and different things like that, and different cultures. I mean, there's so many things that you can take from a book like yours to teach kids things, So now you have a great job from home, and you have this beautiful book, and that you're speaking and stuff like that. Or is there anything else that you're doing? Are you a part of Wear Blue, Run to Remember, or MVP, or any other things?
I normally do a lot of stuff down here with like the Marine Corps detachments, and I go over and speak with the wounded warriors over at Fort Sam, and kind of talk to them. And they were in the same place I was, and some of them are really young. They this was their first enlistment. They got hurt, they lost a limb or something, and they're transitioning out, and they're as lost as anyone else. And I try and go over there and share my experiences with them and say, hey, you know what? Give yourself that second to take a breath. Don't think for 1 second that you're so excited about getting out that in 1 day period you're going to completely forget everything you were doing in the military and just snap right into a civilian mindset. I said, because it's not going to happen. And if you think it's going to happen, you're going to spin yourself out worrying about why you can't shut this off or that off in a blink of an eye. It's just not going to happen. And I guess the other thing that's going on is I am just waiting for the go ahead for the LLC that I'm starting under the brand of the book, Terror to Triumph. And I'm going to use the LLC to, sell the book and different, swag and memorabilia and stuff like that. But I also want to use part of it to give back to some organizations that have helped us. That way, I can use my success to help them help someone who is in my position, 8 years ago at this point. And also my wife, who is a military family therapist who helps military families and kids transition through the transition process or the deployment chaos with families and substance abuse and stuff like that. She does that. And she wants to use the name Terror to Triumph as well to start her private practice. That way she can help more people as well. So it started out like this, and now it's just expanding like crazy. And it's I'm trying not to get too overwhelmed by it all, but it's an exciting thing to just see how quickly it can grow, and all the people that we can reach and help. And it's definitely rewarding. And you go to sleep each night like, wow, I was able to help some people today, and this is great. So
yeah, that sounds wonderful. So great job. I love it when people kind of do things on their own. I love it when people volunteer within programs, but I also love it when they just mentor and do peer-to-peer counseling on their own, because I think it just matters so much, and it's all needed. So because I just finished writing my book, but it's in production right now.
awesome.
And it's called Stories of a Volunteeraholic.
Okay.
So Ed makes fun of me, but it is, and I love it. So I like to hear how and I feel like people who are in the service almost always have a way in which they give back. Like you have, you said like 5 different things. You're mentoring, you're speaking, the idea of supporting other nonprofits, your wife's counseling. I mean, anybody and everybody needs to go into counseling, because we need counselors, just like we need houses in different states. And so all of those things. So thank you for doing what you do. How can we help you? What do you need from us? Or
I think the biggest thing and the hardest piece of the LLC, writing a book or anything, is it was easy to write the book. It is so difficult in the getting the word out there about the book. And so I think anybody that you guys know, or who is listening to this, or whoever does tune in and listen to these podcasts, please take a look at the book, pick up the book, read it. If you enjoy it, please leave a review, a comment. I appreciate the star, the ratings on Amazon, the star. But I would love it if people would write down good book, bad book, I didn't like this, or I love this, because I think that is something that will help generate more interest from people. And I really think the success stories that I've heard are those that are really benefiting not just the military person, but families in general, and bringing families back together. So I really think the more people who read the book, the more people that it will really help. So anybody who is interested or likes these type of books, please recommend it, pick up the book, pass it along to as many people as that may be interested in the book, and let it run its course.
Yeah. So we'll definitely do that. Ed usually converts things and puts more notes on some of the podcast stuff, and so he'll make sure to put the title of the book in it, and even the link to Amazon and stuff like that.
Awesome.
We'll do that, and I will promise that I will buy the book because I love reading, so that's cool. And I lead a huddle for MVP where we do peer-to-peer for combat vets, and so I'll bring the book up there.
Okay, and what is MVP?
Merging vets and players, and it's for combat veterans and professional players, because they feel like when they take the uniform off, some of the same challenges arise, even though the experience in the uniform is completely different. A lot of the same feeling of losing your locker room, losing your barracks.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
really cool.
and we work out first, which I love because I love to work out. And I feel like when you sweat together, then you share more real life. When you come in and it's kind of awkward in a group setting, sometimes you're not necessarily saying as many things, but when you see somebody fall off the balance ball, or we're doing ropes or whatever, and it just is fun, and it's positive way to do things. Well, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I look forward to maybe someday having you on again when you're a big star and you have swag and all the things. I've seen your TEDx or TED Talk, and all the things.
That would be cool. That would
Chris,
all be cool.
Yeah, so stay right there. But everybody else, if you like what you see, definitely follow us. And if you need to, in the notes of the podcast, it shows the title of his book, and definitely take a read.